Shall we try and change gears a little bit then and have a little bit more fun with this aspect of it? One of the focuses here that I want to make sure that we kind of take a look at is that it's kind of a cautionary tale, really. You know how we often do training now. This is when I was in the military, and when my first duty station was Carswell, and then of course I spent some time at Ellsworth. Both of those bases are considered strategic air command bases. So what that means is they had B-52s. Those B-52s were on the alert pad and they had nuclear weapons. At least that was the assumption, okay? So if you worked around nuclear weapons, if you worked on a airframe that was on the alert pad, you had to follow certain rules. And what they had was what they called the two-man concept, no lone zone. And the no loan zone is to say, it's not like we don't trust you, but we don't trust you, okay? So we want somebody to be watching what you're doing because we never know when one of you guys might go off the deep end on us. So what we want you guys to do is be focused in on watching the other person at all times. And to enforce this, then they put a guy up there with a kid 18 to 20 years old with an M16 in front of the plane. Added a little bit more stress to this process, okay? Well, one of the things is that the Air Force decided that, and believe me, it was really state-of-the-art at the time, but it was before VHS tapes came out, and it's before video and things like that. So what it was a little film strip, and it had a cassette. It was a series of film strips and cassettes, and you would put the film strip in here, and it had a little monitor, and you'd have to sit down in front of the monitor, and they put the cassette in, and the machine would move to the tone of the actually, to tell you the truth, I think one of us had to sit there and push a button. So the cassette tape would actually go, okay, push the button on the noise. So now you had to push the button, and it would advance the film strip, okay? And they spent a lot of money, I think, probably. I don't know how many people remember Mad Magazine, and they had the spy versus spy, good, bad versus evil, and that kind of thing. So they actually had, I'm sure they paid to use this concept in there, to use these guys, and that was part of it. And the first time I went through it, it was kind of cute, and it was interesting, and it was fun, and you go through there, and okay, yeah, this makes sense, and you learned. And the second time, maybe a little less so, but it was just good refresher training. Third, not bad. Fourth, fifth. By the time you get to the fifth, and I probably did this 8 or 9 times. Okay, by the time you get to 8, you're getting up to 5 or 6, 7 or 8. How much do you think people are paying attention? Yeah, they have a tendency to lose people in this process. So, this annual training thing is really kind of a challenge for you, if you will. And so it does make it kind of difficult when we talk about training. And so one of the things I thought that we could do is just kind of take a few minutes at each one of our table and you guys discuss what it is that you like about training and some of those things that you don't like about training. Okay, so what do you like best about the training that you receive? What's the best way that you like to receive that information or that information to be presented to you? Okay, so let's just take a couple minutes, not very long, just take a couple minutes and let's talk, at your tables and see what you guys think. So what do you think was some of the best things you like about training that you've received? How do you like to receive training?
We were talking about having it in person, those sidebar conversations. Those are the pieces that you remember and help you solidify it in your brain.
Because I like to have more of the interaction. How do I know if I'm connecting with you guys? You're starting to see more people trying to do webinar type training, and I struggle with that because I can't tell if I'm connecting.
Yeah. We both work for a Fed, and cost cutting, they put everything's on the internet, and they expect you to go to the internet and do the training and put the check mark in the block, and that training it's good training, but as soon as you walk out of here, you just automatically forget it.
Yeah, so I think it needs to be a balance. I really, we've had that discussion at Stay Fun about the workshops, and I said, no, don't make me do web-based. I need to see people. I want to go. I don't mind the travel. I'd rather come out and see you folks and do the training personally than I would separately. So yeah, I think there's a personal touch that goes with this. Certainly goes to the motivation of why someone would come to the class, right? And we're going to talk a little bit about that because that can be tough. if you have somebody that was forced to come and they're not really wanting to be here, right? What else, is there a particular, do you,
Demonstrative. I mean, it's ladder safety or fire extinguisher safety, actually doing the demonstration, giving hands-on training rather than just putting it on film.
right, being able to actually take it with your hand, right?
Yes, right.
And being able to operate and play and see how, and there is, really isn't there, you know, we train on pass, but I can bring in a fire extinguisher and I can hand it to you guys. I pull the pin, aim, squeeze, fire, right? But what's the problem is that you guys don't, it might tell you how much weight you got, but until you find out what kind of a spray you end up out of that thing and what kind of a kickback you get with that, it's a little different unless you do it hands-on. Yeah, obviously hands-on is good in a lot of cases. Some people like doing things on their own. A lot of people like being in groups. But there are different folks, different ways of handling things. What do you guys think? Anything else that you can think of? Oh, yes. I've met most of the needs. If I have coffee and if I have something to eat over here, right? Because I'm like you guys. If I'm not up here instructing and you make me sit down, I'm drinking a gallon of water because I have to constantly keep myself, you know, working on the topic, but I got to be, you know, I got to do something with my hands at that time. So I have to eat, I have to drink. Those kind of things help people, I think, to a certain extent. I think there's other things that you can kind of do to help people with that fidgeting and things like that, you know, putting in little toys out on the table so they can do something with their hands while they're listening to what you're talking about. Or actually running them through something physical that you can, like the fire extinguisher we talked about, but there's some other things. Topic has to be relevant, right?
Well, the presenter has to be enthusiastic about what they're presenting too. I've been to some trainings and that they're trying to stay awake, but the presenter doesn't.
Yeah.
So that makes it right.
Or the old time training, and I've gone through that. You know, I had a situation where my computer would not talk to my projector, and so I had all these great pictures, and we were doing trenching, you know, and I had all these great pictures, but it was all coming out as abstract art because they wouldn't communicate directly with one another very well. And so I had the actual superintendent I was working with, I was training his folks, he goes, we're going to do this the old-fashioned way. He grabbed the OSHA standard, and he was going to read paragraph by paragraph to him. I looked at him, I said, if you do that, I'm going to cut my throat, and I'm not even having to be here. You know, there is a way of approaching things, and I think that, you know, it's important for us to understand that if you are instructing, and I know not everyone will be an instructor in here, but from time to time you may find yourself as having to be someone that's doing the training. I think it's important that you understand some of the things some nuances that maybe go with this, okay?